Welcome to Quaver TV. I'm Quaver TV. This is the dopest line ever because it collapses real-world catastrophe into a coronation ceremony broadcast live from ground zero of American consciousness. Picture this. It's 2003. Get Rich or Die Tryin' hasn't dropped yet. 50 Cent is still that mythical figure from Queens, the guy who survived 9 bullets and turned mixtape warfare into street gospel. Then Eminem, at the absolute peak of his cultural dominance, steps to the microphone and delivers what might be hip-hop's most chilling introduction. Shady was 80 seconds away from the towers. Some cowards fucked with the wrong building. They meant to hit ours. Better evacuate all children. Nuclear showers, nothing spookier. You are about to witness the power of... And then, silence. Just long enough for your heart to skip. Then, 50's voice cuts through like broken glass. 50. Let's talk about those 80 seconds. The towers fell 102 minutes apart. 80 seconds is nothing. Less than the time it takes to read this paragraph. But Eminem isn't just talking about physical distance. He's mapping the psychological geography of post-9/11 America, where everyone measured their lives in degrees of separation from catastrophe. The Shady Records office wasn't actually 80 seconds from the towers. But truth isn't the point. The point is feeling. That collective American shiver when you realize how thin the line is between a normal Tuesday and world-changing tragedy. Nuclear showers, nothing spookier. That isn't just wordplay. Eminem was tapping into the dread of 2003. Anthrax letters, dirty bomb warnings, alert levels that never seemed to fade. He wasn't describing what happened. He was describing what everyone felt could happen any day. The genius is in the escalation. Fire becomes nuclear fallout. Evacuation becomes apocalypse. And then, at the moment when the imagery can't get any heavier, he pivots. You are about to witness the power of... It's like watching a horror movie director suddenly cut to a coronation scene. When 50's voice finally arrives, it carries the weight of everything that came before. Not just Eminem's introduction, but the mythology, the Queens streets, the drug corners, the 9 bullets, the hospital bed where he rapped with his jaw wired shut. This wasn't a rap feature. This was a seismic shift being announced in real time. The sound of New York hip-hop recalibrating around a new center of gravity. Now let's talk about 50's line, because this is where the song quietly turns philosophical. I hear voices in my head like a baby born dead. On the surface, it's disturbing imagery. But years later, in 20 years of sharing the stage, 50 explained why he chose that comparison. And the explanation makes the line hit completely differently. He asked a question most people are afraid to even think about. Why does a baby get born dead at all? A baby hasn't lived long enough to do anything wrong. No sins, no choices, no rebellion, no corruption. So, if something that innocent can suffer the ultimate loss before it even begins, what does that say about the world? 50 isn't being edgy here. He's pointing directly at inherited consequences, sins of others. A system where punishment doesn't wait for guilt, where pain doesn't require participation, where chaos exists independent of morality. That's why the voices in his head aren't just paranoia or street PTSD. They're existential. They're the sound of living in a world where fairness is a myth, where tragedy doesn't ask permission, and where survival itself feels random. A baby born dead never gets a voice, never gets a chance to cry, to protest, to explain itself. And that's the connection. 50 is saying the voices in his head sound like that. Something trying to speak from a place where speech was never supposed to exist. Trauma without language, pain without cause. It reframes the entire song. Patiently. Waiting isn't just about industry pressure or anticipation. It's about existing in a reality where outcomes are decided before effort even matters, where you can do everything right and still lose, or do nothing at all and still pay the price. That line quietly asks a theological question without preaching. If innocence doesn't protect you, then what does? If suffering isn't earned, then how do you justify it? And if the world works like that, then maybe being hardened isn't evil. Maybe it's adaptive. That's why the line lingers. It doesn't resolve. It doesn't explain itself. It just sits there, uncomfortable, unresolved, like the truth often does. That's not shock value. That's lived philosophy smuggled into a rap bar. That's Genius Get Rich or Die Tryin' would go on to sell 872,000 copies in its first week. It spawned 5 hit singles, made G-Unit the most feared crew in rap, and turned Curtis Jackson into a global icon. But the real impact was deeper. Big change 50 Cent.